What's happening, everybody? Monday, May 19th, 2025. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live. We've got a jam-packed show for you guys today. What a weird weekend. There was extensive news over the course of the weekend. Obviously, Joe Biden's cancer diagnosis, stage 4 prostate cancer. That's not good. Certainly not good at all. Certainly not a good thing at all. Joe Biden, stage 4 prostate cancer. We may or may not have been accidentally invaded by the Mexican Navy in one of the weirdest things I think I've ever seen in my entire life. That broke Saturday night. That was kind of goofy. Because apparently the Mexican Navy has training ships that still have sails on it. That was incredibly odd. Also, the Her report, of course, that was the report on Joe Biden's handling classified documents. Audio was released showing that the old man just wasn't there the entire time. It was a wild weekend in news. And at the end of the show today, we are going to show you a press conference from a sheriff in Florida that, look, there's no real way to say it. Just really funny. Just really damn funny. Before we get started, though, guys, hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We are rocking. We are rolling here. Where is this? Where's my live chat? Boom. Let's say hello to everybody. Hope everybody had a lovely weekend. Also, for my Long Island crew, a big event is going to be coming up next month in Massapequa on Long Island. You're going to want to keep it locked in here for that. I'll be making exclusive videos about all of that. Super excited about that. Shout out to everybody from Massapequa. What's up, AC Knight? Jeanette, how are you? Caps, how are we doing? Yes, school board elections here on Long Island. School board elections here on Long Island. Get out and vote tomorrow. Get out and vote tomorrow for your local candidates. I'll try to let you know which ones are which. If you're in Lindenhurst, vote for Phil Renna. That one I can tell you for sure. If you're in Smithtown, vote for Mike Simonelli. Giddy up. Let's go. Bad Moon. Tommy Girl, what's happening? Champs, how are you? Very good stuff. A Good Shepherd follower. How are you? Very good. Bobby, what's going on? Shout out to all the Yankee fans celebrating the 2 out of 3 they took from the Mets this weekend. We're going to ignore that. We're just going to ignore that. We're going to skip right past it and pretend it didn't happen. Pretend it didn't happen whatsoever. We're just going to ignore it. We're going to move on, and that's about it. So, obviously, Joe Biden, look, I want to be clear about something, very clear, immediately right off the bat. I don't care who you are. I will never, be in joy that you have cancer. I think that is one of the people out there that seem to be celebrating this. I think that's awful. Joe Biden was one of the worst presidents in American history. He did tremendous damage to this country. He lied to the American people repeatedly about his mental state. He did genuinely awful things. But if you're out there celebrating someone having cancer, there's something wrong with you. There just is. There absolutely is. Now, with that being said, am I happy about the vindication? Absolutely. 1,000% I am. We knew something was going on. Maybe we didn't know what. Was it dementia? Was it Parkinson's? Was it just the fact that being in your early 80s is probably not great for cognitive thinking? It was a lot. How long did people know? What did they know? And when did they know it? And that is going to be the question we see moving forward. Here was the breaking news of that story happening late last night.
This is CNN Breaking News.
This breaking news, former President Joe Biden has just announced that he has been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer. Let's get straight to the White House and senior reporter Betsy Klein with more on this. Betsy.
Yeah, Frederica, the White House, the office of former President Joe Biden issuing a statement just moments ago that the former president has been diagnosed on Friday with what they described as an aggressive form of prostate cancer that has spread to his bones. I want to read you this statement again from Biden's personal office. It says, last week, President Joe Biden was seen for a new finding of a prostate nodule after experiencing increasing urinary symptoms. On Friday, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, characterized by a Gleason score of 9 with metastasis to the bone. While this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. The statement goes on to say that Biden and his family are reviewing treatment options with his physicians. Of course, President Biden is 82 years old, and of course, there has been so much scrutiny around the former president's health and his mental acuity and fitness for a second term in office. That is the subject, of course, of a new book from our colleague Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson, as well as something that was really underscored by the release of the Her tapes earlier this week. So again, we've asked the White House for comment on this development. We will bring more details to you as soon as we have them. But again, former President Biden diagnosed with aggressive prostate cancer that has spread to his bones. Frederica.
All right, still so many questions. Betsy Klein, thank you so much. Of course, we'll talk more about it, and I'll be able to give you some of the questions.
Still so much we don't know. And obviously more information is coming out about this. The big question is going to be who knew what when. Now, with that being said, did Dr. Jill cover it up? How much did the cabinet know? How much did the staffers know? This is the important thing. Because, look, I want to be clear. This isn't the first time in American history this sort of thing has happened, where a person was mentally incapacitated and became and remained president of the United States. The famous case of Woodrow Wilson having a stroke, like 6 months left in his presidency, and his wife basically running the country. The only difference was that was 100 years ago, before people had access the way we do now. I want to know what Karine Jean-Pierre knew when she came out and repeatedly lied to the American people. I want to know what Tony Blinken knew. I want to know what the staffers knew. And now we're starting to get word from Congress that the House Oversight Committee's James Comer said that he plans on subpoenaing to identify the staffers who controlled Joe Biden's auto pen during the last several months of his presidential tenure. And those involved will face interviews and depositions if necessary. Appearing on Fox News with Jason Chaffetz, the two were addressing the audio released by Joe Biden's interview with special counsel Robert Hur. And this is incredibly important because we know about the auto pen. We know that presidents have used this auto pen before. It is not out of the realm of possibility. The difference is the auto pen is set to be used for convenience, not for the death, essentially the death of a president of the United States. What were these staffers signing? Does this mean that the pardons are null and void? There are many questions that remain from this. And I want to make it very clear, and I'll say it left ways, sideways, up, down, and backwards. I am not celebrating Joe Biden being sick. Anyone who's ever seen anybody go through cancer, particularly some kind of stage 4 cancer, you wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy. You wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy, and I hope that he gets the treatment he needs. My issue with Joe Biden is not that I want to see him suffer. My issue is that he was a terrible president. Here was James Comer talking about how the auto pen may have been used for the pardons illegally.
You are going and looking at who is controlling this auto pen. Because Joe Biden, I mean, he's demonstrating that he doesn't have all the cognitive capabilities they had. That interview was from 2023.
Yeah, that's hard evidence. Early in the President Biden's term as president, it clearly shows that he was in significant mental decline. It questions who was actually making the decisions. So what we found is not just with the pardons he issued, but many of the executive orders that the courts are now using to Trump-proof many of the executive orders that President Trump is trying to implement to make government more efficient. Many of these executive orders, as well as the pardons of Biden's entire family as a result of our investigation, these were all signed with the auto pen. And clearly from that interview, which was many, many months prior to the heavy use of the auto pen, Joe Biden wasn't capable of making decisions. He wasn't coherent. We think we've identified who the staffers are. Jason, you all have done great work with that over at Heritage Oversight. We're going to bring everyone that we believe was involved in any role in the use of the auto pen. We're going to invite them to come in for a transcribed interview. If they want, then they will receive a subpoena and they will have a full-blown deposition. But we want to find out who was actually making the decisions in the White House during the last 9 months of the Biden administration when he was clearly in mental decline.
Clearly in mental decline. And look, was he getting cancer treatment while he was in the White House? There's a lot of questions that remain about this. And more importantly than that, for what we discuss a lot on this show, is there is egg on the media's face. There is egg on the face of all the people that lied to the American people, that said he was all good. He's never been sharper. I don't care who you are, what age you are. If you're going through stage 4 cancer, you are not sharp. If you are 82 and you're going through stage 4 cancer, you are not sharp. I don't care. What age, what job, what you doing. That it's a very serious thing. And for anybody who's ever had to experience this, unfortunately, I hope it all went well. But, stage 4 cancer is, that's the end for the most part for many, many people. And some people are just starting to come around to the fact that maybe, just maybe, maybe Joe Biden should have dropped out a little bit earlier. Maybe there were extenuating circumstances. Here's Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut.
Is this audio proof that President Biden shouldn't have run for re-election?
Well, I don't know that that's a particularly fair excerpt. That's a very emotional topic for the president. But obviously, in retrospect, the president should have gotten out of the race earlier. There's no doubt that the Democratic Party would have been better served by having the ability to have an open primary. Kamala Harris probably would have done very well in that process. But in retrospect, we lost. And so I don't think you can defend the way in which our politics played out. I mean, listen, what I've said is that, like anybody who reaches that stage in their life, there is some level of diminishment. But I got to work with the president pretty closely in 2022 and 2023, and I saw a president who was passing legislation and helping the American people at a pretty unprecedented rate. That being said, by 2024, the American people had decided that they wanted somebody new. They wanted somebody younger, and it was a mistake. It was a mistake for Democrats to not listen to the voters earlier and set up a process that would have gotten us in a position where we could have been more competitive that fall.
Now, of course, that interview came out before the cancer diagnosis, so now Senator Chris Murphy looks even dumber. The real question is, though, how long was this happening? Because, look, I'm not a doctor. I just play one on TV. But apparently, people are starting to say that this sort of diagnosis is something that you would have known for quite some time. That's not me saying it. That is the brother of the former head of the DNC, Ari Emanuel. He is the architect of Obamacare, a tried and true Democrat on MSNBC just today saying they would have known about this for years.
You believe it is likely, if this prostate cancer has spread to the bone, that he could have had it for up to a decade, but certainly it's likely. Would it be fair to say it's likely to have had this for at least several years?
Oh, more than several years. You don't get prostate cancer.
So again, I just want to stop you. So this is not speculation. If you have prostate cancer that is spread to the bone, then he's most certainly, you are saying, had it when he was president of the United States.
Oh, yeah. He did not develop it in the last 100, 200 days. He had it while he was president. He probably had it at the start of his presidency in 2021. Yes, that I don't think there's any disagreement about that.
And I'm just curious again, if your doctor to a president of the United States that is a male, that is an older man, would a prostate test, and again, we're just talking about a PSA screening, a blood test that you could do along with all the other blood tests. It's not even that it would be intrusive. would this not be one of the first tests that you would conduct as a White House doctor?
If you're a White House doctor in this situation, I think you would certainly discuss it with the president and talk about the pros and cons. I think if you then ask, well, if President Biden says, well, if I'm your father, which patients often do, what would you recommend? I think the fact is that most White House doctors would recommend getting the test. And again, the evidence is, look at President Obama, President Bush, younger than President Biden, and they both got the test.
They both got the test. They knew for years. And they covered it up. That's the story, I think. I think that's the bigger story than anything else. Not the fact that the former president is sick. What did they know? Who knew it? And how do we stop this from happening again? Because now I've got even more questions than I had before. Did Joe Biden have dementia? Was his lack of cognitive ability due to a sort of dementia, or was it a side effect of whatever sort of treatment he was on? Look, I think people have the right to medical privacy, not when it's the president of the United States. Do you know why? Because it turns out there are people out there that need to know whether or not the president is lucid or not, if he knows what he is doing or not. Because, as we saw numerous times with Joe Biden, he would make very serious flubs, confusing the president of Mexico with the president of Syria. The president of Mexico with the president of Egypt. Confusing Libya and Syria when it comes to invasion plans. So my question is, if they're in the Situation Room and we are under attack, or we are, threatening a military incursion somewhere, and Joe Biden accidentally says the wrong country, what do the generals do? Do they just do what they want, at which point we have a military coup in this country? Or do they just follow the wrong order and invade the wrong country? These are very serious questions that we need answer to. Here was Tim Pool explaining that for the last number of years in this country, there was basically a military coup happening.
There was an instant where Joe Biden he stated, I think, Libya instead of Syria.
Yeah.
Imagine he's in the Situation Room and he gives an order directly and firmly, we're gonna send troops to Libya, and these guys look at each other. Now they have to make a decision. Do we follow that order, genuinely believing we should move into Libya? Or is the president unwell and he's at the wrong country, so we defy his order?
Well, that's when you think maybe he didn't know about the border. Maybe no one told him about the border, because some of the reporting says they never gave him bad news. So maybe he really didn't talk through the Afghanistan withdrawal. Maybe he forgot what he said about Bagram. I mean, everything is now in question.
Everything is in question. And to be honest with you, the last point that Jesse Waters makes right there, maybe he didn't know about the border. I doubt it. Maybe he didn't plan the Afghanistan withdrawal. I believe that one a lot more. If that were the case, that's even more terrifying than he knew and said the wrong thing. That's even more terrifying because somebody knew, somebody that nobody elected. Did we live through a military coup in this country for the last several years? Was it Milley? Was it Blinken? Was it, what the hell is that guy's name? The guy that disappeared for like 2 weeks. Secretary Lloyd Austin. Was it Lloyd Austin? Was it the rest of the generals making decisions on the back of the President of the United States? With or without his knowledge? Were they just doing whatever they wanted to? That's terrifying. That's absolutely terrifying. That's more terrifying than the president being incapacitated and not being able to make the decisions for himself. Now, with that being said, would I have rathered Kamala Harris get 25th amendmented into the presidency? I don't know. She would have been a disaster. an absolute disaster, but that's the way this is supposed to work. That's the way this is supposed to go. But as usual, Democrats just make things up as they go along. And I want to be clear. I'm not jumping on the old man. I hope he gets better. I hope he does. You know, stage 4 prostate cancer. Probably not going to get better, unfortunately. You know, that's just kind of the way these sorts of things go. But I hope he does get better. I'm certainly not going to gloat on anyone's sickness. I don't care who they are. But at what point when are we allowed to start asking those sorts of questions? When are we allowed to say who was running the nation? Who was the president? And now we know. And moreover, the level of vindication I feel being right once again. I often say on this show a lot that the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is usually time. Just wait and it will come true. Just wait and in a matter of time, it will come true. Guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We're going to keep rocking and rolling here because I got to talk about I want to make sure I get to the military pirate ship that crashed into the Brooklyn Bridge the other day. Didn't have that on my bingo card. Before we get to that, I do want to show you J.D. Vance's response because I think J.D.'s response to Biden's sickness is the measured way we should all be handling this. And it's what I've tried to convey here for the last 20 minutes or so, and I hope I've done so. Here was Vice President Vance.
Speaking of Joe Biden, sir, do you have any thoughts on his diagnosis?
Yeah, look, I mean, first of all, of course, we wish the best for the former president's health. And, you know, it sounds pretty serious, but hopefully he makes the right recovery. Like, I will say, whether the right time to have this conversation is now or at some point in the future, we really do need to be honest about whether the former president was capable of doing the job. And that's no, you know, that you can separate the desire for him to have the right health outcome with the recognition that whether it was doctors or whether there were staffers around the former president, I don't think he was able to do a good job for the American people. And that's not politics. That's not because I disagreed with him on policy. That's because I don't think that he was in good enough health. In some ways, I blame him less than I blame the people around him. And why didn't the American people have a better sense of his health picture? Why didn't the American people have more accurate information about what he was actually dealing with? This is serious stuff. And this is the guy who carries around the nuclear football for the world's largest nuclear arsenal. This is not child's play, and we can pray for good health, but also recognize that if you're not in good enough health to do the job, you shouldn't be doing the job. Okay. Thank you guys. Have a safe trip. See ya. You too.
That seems like a fairly measured response from the vice president. And I think that's where we all have to be right now. I think that's where we all should be right now. I hope you guys are there too. Guys, we'll be back in 1 second. Before we do that, guys, Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD for up to 80% off everything on the website. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. Guys, do me a favor and make sure you share out this video. Share it out all over the place so that we can keep rocking, we can keep rolling here as we are on the cusp of 105,000 followers here on the best damn news platform anywhere. LFA TV, rumble.com/LFA TV. Let your friends know about it. It's always a good time over here. How somebody's watching me. What's up? Time, how are you? John S. Watching over in the X chat. Alex Ann, what's going on? Sassy lady, what is happening? Hope everybody had a phenomenal weekend. Hope everybody had a great weekend. We're gonna laugh in a minute because I got to be honest with you guys. I did not have Mexican ship crashing into the Brooklyn Bridge on my 2025 bingo card. I got to be honest with you. Didn't see this one coming. Certainly did not see this one coming. Guys, hit that thumbs up button. Let's keep moving and grooving. Yeah. So, as I said the other night, one of the strangest stories I think I've ever read, a Mexican Navy ship crashed into the Brooklyn Bridge. 2 crew members were killed and 22 were injured. A tall ship under the flag of Mexico slammed into the Brooklyn Bridge on Saturday evening, killing 2 crew members and leaving 22 injured. Of those 22, 11 crew members were in critical condition. The National Transportation Safety Board will investigate the crash, police say. Mayor Eric Adams spoke on the crash earlier tonight. The Mexican Navy tall ship, Chudamac, I can't pronounce that, lost power and crashed into the Brooklyn Bridge. At this time, there were 277 people on board. 19 people sustained injuries, 2 of which remain critical, and 2 have sadly passed away. Here was the video out of that one. Pretty wild. Yeah, I didn't have that on. I didn't see that one coming. Saturday night, came home, threw on the news, as I tend to do, and all of a sudden, there it is. Boom. A giant sailboat. I don't know what the hell that thing even is. It's a Mexican Navy vessel, but it has sails on it, which, I got to be honest, is kind of funny. The Mexican president also lamented the loss and thanked Mayor Eric Adams for his support. As the ship attempted to pass under the bridge, the mast crumbled, sending people into the water, which is terrifying. Search and rescue operations are underway after the ship failed to clear the span. Video taken of bystanders on the shore watching the ship go into the river shows the scene. The mast of this ship, built in Spain in 1982, were 147 feet tall ahead of the collision. Its journey down the river was part of a promotion for next year's Sail Tall Ship event, which was part of the 250th anniversary celebration of the United States. There are 30 Class A international tall ships that are set to be in New York Harbor for the July 4th festivities in 2026. So this was a what would you say? It was a test run for the 250th birthday of America. Not looking good. Not great. Just every day more and more stuff happens. And I sit back and I think to myself, what in the sweet hell is going on? What is going on? I'm shocked they didn't find a way to blame Trump, but, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? I'm shocked they didn't blame Doge. I will say, though, that the National Transportation Safety Board and the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, are having, the busiest first 150 days of any administration ever. Of course, that comes, there's plenty of issues at a Newark airport. All my Jersey people fly out of Kennedy. It's just better. Just do it. It's just better. Guys, we're going to keep moving and grooving here because there is a whole bunch more stuff I want to make sure that I get to today. Also, we're going to be talking about the big, beautiful bill, which has cleared the way following a vote, a late-night vote last night. But before we get to the big beautiful bill, I want to be clear. I hate omnibus bills. I hate them when Biden does it. I hate them when Trump does it. But this is just something. I guess it's just an argument I'm going to lose. It's just an argument I'm going to lose. Before we get to that, guys, Old Glory Bank.
When big banks decide who gets access to America's financial systems and who doesn't, who do you think gets left out? Middle Americans who proudly wave their pro-America values. Cancel culture in banking is corrosive. It limits your participation in a vibrant, free market economy. Fortunately, you can fight back. You now have the opportunity to invest in the bank that's investing in a fair American banking system, one based in freedom. Ownership in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank, is here. Old Glory Bank is a full-service FDIC-insured bank that's the alternative to overreaching, un-American big banks. We stand for privacy, security, and liberty. We stand for freedom, family, faith, and the flag. We stand for all the values you stand for, and for the values big banks can't stand. So help keep banking in the hands of Main Street, not Wall Street. To invest in Old Glory Bank, go to oldglorybank.com.
Guys, head on over to oldglorybank.com. That's oldglorybank.com. Support the people who are supporting the parallel economy over at Old Glory Bank. They are proud sponsors of the show, and we are proud to have them. This is not financial advice. I want to make that very clear, but if it was, I would tell you to lock in those CD interest rates before Jerome Powell lowers the Federal Reserve rates. Guys, go to oldglorybank.com. That is oldglorybank.com. So, let's talk about the big, beautiful bill. The big, beautiful bill, which has cleared the way of the key House Budget Committee last night, the spending and tax bill backed by President Trump, this from the Post-Millennial, that has been branded his big, beautiful bill. Took a critical step forward late Sunday night after clearing a major procedural hurdle in the House of Representatives. The bill passed through the House Budget Committee in a narrow 17-16 vote, breathing new life into the Republican efforts to advance the legislation to the full House later this week. The late-night vote followed a Friday vote where the more conservative members of the committee in the House Freedom Caucus withheld their support, demanding stricter assurances on provisions for Medicaid right-to-work programs and a rollback of the green energy subsidies from Biden's Inflation Reduction Act. According to Fox News, in urgent effort to salvage the measure, Mike Johnson summoned the Budget Committee members back to Washington for a rare 10 p.m. meeting. Johnson emerging with confidence following the meeting behind closed doors with the 4 GOP holdouts and told reporters, I think what is about to happen here is that every Republican member will give their vote that allows this to proceed forward, and we can count on a big win tonight. Indeed, the four conservatives ultimately voted present rather than voting no, allowing the bill to clear the committee and move forward. The decision comes after they secured written assurances from House GOP leaders that their concerns would be addressed in the final version. Now, I want to make something very clear. The big, beautiful bill, it's not out of the woods yet. As a matter of fact, it's not even remotely close to out of the woods yet. Number one, you still have many members of the House Freedom Caucus that are not happy with the spending. They're right. They are absolutely correct. Spending in this bill is absolutely out of control. Out of control. $1 trillion military budget. Absolutely no reason to have that. No reason to have that whatsoever. Don't tell me that DOGE is out there cutting costs while you're spending more money. That doesn't make any sense. That makes no sense whatsoever. Also, you've got the people out there like Thomas Massie who vote against every single budget bill no matter what it is. He's going to vote against it. You've got the New York Three. Of course, that would be Garbarino, LaLota, and Lawler, all saying they're going to vote against it unless their donors get a massive tax cut. Yeah, I said that out loud. Just is what it is. We're talking about the SALT cap deduction, which apparently they will never be satisfied with no matter what they get. It's probably why none of the three of you will ever be governor. Just saying. And I'm sure there are a myriad of other issues. A myriad of other issues with the big, beautiful bill. And this is the problem with the omnibus system. This is the problem with the one single straight down, up or down vote. And the fiscal hawks are coming out in force. Chip Roy, Norman, Clyde, and Breachin all voted present on the bill. Those were the 4 fiscal hawks. Chip Roy said after the meeting tonight, after a great deal of work and engagement over the weekend, the Budget Committee advanced the reconciliation bill that lays the foundation for the much-needed tax relief, border security, and important spending reductions and reforms. Importantly, the bill will now move Medicaid work requirements forward and reduce the ability of subsidies under the Green New Scam. But the bill does not yet meet the moment, leaving almost half of the Green New Scam subsidies in play. More, it fails to end Medicaid money laundering scams and perverse funding structures that provides 7 times more federal funding for each dollar of a state spending for the able-bodied relative to the vulnerable. What does that mean? They want more work requirements for Medicaid. And there should be. That is a good policy. If you're genuinely sick, if you're banged up, if you're genuinely in bad shape and you can't work anymore, no problem. But every single person here, every person watching this show knows one person. They're probably in your family. Somebody, you got a cousin, you got an aunt, who is absolutely rigging the Medicaid system. None of them go to work, and they probably live better than you do while you're breaking your ass every single day. Everyone knows somebody. And that stuff has to end. Why? Well, first off, you shouldn't be able to rip off the American taxpayer because you're too lazy to go to work. That's number one. But number two, it'll put more people back into the workforce. We see a low unemployment rate, but that does not take into account the people on Social Security disability who shouldn't be, the people who are not working but receiving Medicaid, the people who have dropped out of the workforce entirely. If we're going to start reshoring jobs, we need to start putting people back to work. People back to work who should be at work, who are able-bodied. Everybody knows somebody. I'm not going to ask you to name who it is, and I want to be clear. There are absolutely people out there who are in bad shape. Bad shape, you got into a car accident, you fell at work, maybe your mental health isn't great. All these are completely legitimate. But we all know there are people scamming the system. Like the woman I saw the other day at 7-Eleven using her public assistance card. Here in New York, we call it an EBT card. Electronic Benefits, EBT, Electronic Benefits something. Buying a 6-pack of donuts. These things need to stop. Then they need to stop immediately. And I'm happy. Look, is this going to be a roadblock for President Trump? It absolutely is. But I think if these conservative members get at least half of their demands, we're going to be in a hell of a lot better shape. We're going to be in a hell of a lot better shape. Guys, do me a favor and hit the thumbs up button. We got so much more that we want to get to. So much more we want to get to. Before we get to that, here's Jeremy.
Oh, hey, folks. How you doing? Jeremy Harrell here, LFA TV. I was just reading up here on Fatty 15. Sounds kind of funny, right? It's not, though. Fatty 15 is a new supplement that we are taking here at LFA TV that I'm personally taking myself that has a nutrient in it called C15. And what is C15? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we can thank our aquatic friends, the dolphins, for science figuring this out. The first breakthrough in 90 years about what the proper amount of C15 in your body can do. Every one of us wants peace. Every one of us wants to experience joy and a long life with our kids and our grandkids sitting in a setting like you see behind me. Well, there's one way that you can do that outside of eating right, having a good diet, exercising, saying your prayers, eating your vitamins, but also taking supplements that our bodies just don't produce anymore because we're all breaking down, especially as we get older. Fatty 15 has a nutrient called C15. And what this does is it, first of all, repairs your old damaged cells and then kind of slows down the aging process of your cells, giving you longevity of life. And 72% of people taking Fatty 15 see massive benefits within 16 weeks. Some earlier, some later. But those benefits are absolutely amazing, ladies and gentlemen. Most people said their liver and heart health feels much better. A lot of people said that their skin is changing. They feel like they're healthier. Their metabolic system changes. And ladies and gentlemen, it's also vegan friendly. Now, Fatty 15 has 3 times the cellular benefits as any omega-3 or fish oil. Omega-3 and fish oil also can go bad after a while. By replenishing our cells with this C15 nutrient that I'm talking about in here, Fatty 15 effectively repairs cells and restores our long-term health. Now, I can get you a 15% off a 90-day subscription right now by going to fatty15.com/LFA, promo code LFA. That's fatty15.com/LFA, promo code LFA. And ladies and gentlemen, despite the name, it's not going to make you a fatty. It's actually going to give you something that you've been wanting for a long time, to feel younger again. Who doesn't want that? Fatty15.com/LFA, code LFA. Check it out now. Thank you guys so very much. Have a wonderful day.
Now to the immigration front, where we got breaking news, guys, at the top of this hour. The Supreme Court has just announced that they are allowing President Trump to remove the protected status for up to 350,000 Venezuelans, paving the way for deportation. This from National Review. The Supreme Court is allowing the Trump administration to remove legal protections for 350,000 Venezuelans, clearing the way for ICE to include the migrants in their mass deportation program. The Supreme Court on Tuesday lifted a lower court ruling in San Francisco blocking the Trump administration from removing the temporary protected status for 350,000 Venezuelans. The Biden administration initially granted protected status to these migrants in 2021, finding that Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro's socialist regime had made it too dangerous to return to their country. Of course, the one outlier of this was Justice I don't know what a woman is, Ketanji Brown Jackson. With the protected status lifted, the Trump administration could elect to deport the Venezuelans as part of a mass deportation campaign. The White House is attempting to pull off the most sweeping deportation in American history. Homeland Security Kristi Noem rescinded the Biden administration's extension in February. Weeks later, the Obama-appointed judge halted the order, siding with the group of Venezuelans. Naturally. And you know what? This brings up a bigger topic. Look. If you're being actively persecuted by the regime in your country, then you can claim protected status. But you don't get to come here because your country sucks. It turns out a lot of places suck. As a matter of fact, more places suck than don't suck. You don't get to just come here. Not to mention when President Nicolas Maduro is out there saying, yeah, we're not taking these people back. You wonder why. You wonder why they're not taking them back. Are they doctors or nurses? Maybe they'll get to go to the University of Caracas research lab and help discover a cure for cancer. Or maybe they're all criminals. It wouldn't be the first time, let's be honest, we've seen another country dump their criminals into America. We saw it in the 80s with the Muriel boat lift out of Cuba. At least then we got a good movie out of it. I don't see them making a Scarface 2 anytime soon with any of the Venezuelans that have been dumped into this country. Moreover, the reason why we have to keep sending these people to El Salvador is because Venezuela won't take them back. And in the words of the great Conor McGregor, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell out of here. It's time for these people to go. And now we're getting more and more and more and more stories that I'm sure Democrats will absolutely harp on. Here was the story of an MS-13 member in Fairfax, Virginia, a Virginia man, Virginia dad, who apparently has a laundry list of arrests, finally given the old boot.
This is unbelievable. Talk about a sanctuary jurisdiction shielding a criminal alien in Fairfax County. In this case, Fox just exclusively learning from ICE. They arrested an illegal Guatemalan alien earlier this week named Michael Santos, a documented MS-13 gang member. Martha, he has more than 15 pages of criminal history in ICE's database. He was arrested some 30 times by Fairfax County police, and ICE has lodged 16 different immigration detainers against him in the past 3 years, all of which have been denied. Now, ICE made the arrest on May 12th, and ICE tells Fox News this in a statement, quote, "We find it inexcusable that local law enforcement refused to honor 16 separate immigration detainers against Santos, forcing ICE officers to make an at-large arrest where one of our officers was injured." And get this, between February 20th, 2020 and May 8th, 2025, Fairfax County Police arrested Santos on those 30 times, charging with things like assault and battery, drug possession, intent to distribute, burglary, theft, larceny, trespassing, property damage, and the list goes on and on. Martha?
Unbelievable. 16 ignored detainers for one person. I mean, you got to just wonder, like, why? I mean, are they hoping that they'll keep this person around long enough that that they'll do something that's so heinous that they have to be thrown out? It's shocking. Griff, thank you very much. Thanks for that breaking news. All right, here we go. So the feds.
But those are the sanctuary policies we have to endure. Fairfax, Virginia. Just your normal suburban neighborhood. It's absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. But good thing he will be gone. In other words, adios, muchacho. Guys, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. We are rocking. We are rolling here. We got some big stuff coming up here on Long Island this week. Next Sunday, I'll be at the Ronkonkoma Street Fair. Make sure you guys check it out. Kick it with us. Also, guys, do me a favor and head on over to LoudMajorityUSA.com. That's LoudMajorityUSA.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. Let's pop this bad boy up on the screen. Actually, we got something new on the website today. We got a bathing suit right here that has a Trump. That has, look at this. Check this out. Made this the other day. Hope you guys like it. For any of the ladies out there, it says Trump right across the ass. So if you guys like that, check that out today. Very good stuff. Also, all the rest of the good stuff we've got over here at The Loud Majority. That's the best way to support this show and everything we've got going on. Also, if you guys wouldn't mind, consider becoming a monthly donor over here at The Loud Majority. Help us out, $5, $10 a month, whatever that may be. We do appreciate the support. We can't do this without your help, and you guys have always been so supportive of us. Also, make sure you're following The Loud Majority on all of the pick. Come on, look at this. Look at this. Who doesn't want this for their kid? Toddlers for Trump. Giddy up, let's go. Check that out today, guys. Head on over to LoudMajorityUSA.com. That's LoudMajorityUSA.com. Oh, yeah. So we got a couple more stories that I want to get to, but we're still going to be on the topic of immigration for just a little bit. Tom Homan sat down with Sean Ryan and had some interesting little nuggets about what ICE officers actually do for the American people.
See a Border Patrol agent? Tell them thank you. Because they're getting vilified every day by the media. ICE agents, they're getting vilified. Death threats are outrageous. Just give them a thank you, because they really are. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock this morning, you're going to be laying in bed. I'm going to be laying in bed. Hopefully we'll be sleeping next to our loved one. At the same time, you got a Border Patrol agent standing on a dirt trail in the middle of nowhere because the sensor went off. So if something's coming north on that dirt trail, they don't know, is it an illegal alien looking for a better life? Or is it a heavily armed drug smuggler? They don't know they're going to take it on. I know because I've done it. I've stood on that dirt trail as a Border Patrol agent, shitting your pants, wondering what's coming. But they're going to stay in there and take it on. They're doing this every night while we sleep, keeping this country safe. Men and women of ICE, they're getting vilified every day in the media. Every morning I wake up, read all these stories about ICE agents, how terrible they are. People need to remember the ICE agents and Border Patrol agents, they're mothers and fathers too. They don't hang their heart on a hook when they go to work. They've seen a lot of bad things happen that they take home to them every day. They take sicknesses home to their families, whether it's TB, they get TB screenings all the time. They take sickness. These men in the Border Patrol, they actually bring toys from their families to bring them to children to play with while they're in the facilities. They really do care. They really do have a great heart. Under the last 4 years of the Biden administration, the record amount of Border Patrolmen that committed suicide was highest ever. At over 40, I believe. Now, I don't know, whatever internal struggles they were having, giving CPR to babies, talking to little girls been raped, finding dead bodies floating down the river, seeing how these criminal cartels treated these people certainly weighed on them to the point they took their own lives. These men and women are heroes, and I hope the American people understand your heroes, recognize them as heroes, and thank them. That's all I ask for. I mean, I'll retire again, hopefully for the last time, but I'll always have the six of these men and women, because I was one of them. I know what it takes. They're the nation's finest. Our military and our first responders are America's minus 1%. I hope people recognize that. True Americans.
It's a great closing statement.
That's a great close. I should have played it at the end of the show, I guess. Sean Ryan closing my show out for me. But that's it. You know, a lot of I don't know. I think people in the Biden administration really started to think that ICE agents were more glorified secretaries. And that's because they were. They were stuck doing paperwork all day. And their job is incredibly tough. And to be vilified in the media, left, right, and center, it's been absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting to see. And I think that people who do that should think twice. They should absolutely think twice. Guys, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. I got 2 more stories that I want to make sure that I get to. One might make you cry. One is definitely going to make you laugh. But before we get to that, once again, guys, head on over to LFATV.us. That's LFATV.us. That's your home base, your mothership, your landing pad. All things LFATV related. Check out the LFATV store. That's the best way to support this network. Your Rumble rants, always appreciated. Make sure you guys are following the page, rumble.com/LFATV, wherever you may be at. So, turns out we may soon be actually getting some information on January 6th and the amount of FBI informants that were involved. Here was Cash and Dan.
Actually happened on January 6th. So there is, as it seems that I find myself in a similar situation as Russiagate. Because on January 6th, in the prior Trump administration, I was the chief of staff to the Department of Defense. And I spent 4 years and a minor fortune litigating the truth because people politicized what actually happened on January 6th. And we now know unequivocally that President Trump lawfully authorized the deployment of National Guard, and me as the head of the Office of Secretary of Defense, with the Secretary of Defense, took that action. When it finally came in, because it had to have the governor and mayor of D.C.'s approval on it. That's the way the law works. And once it finally came in on January 6th, remember, we offered to them days beforehand, and they rejected it. We've put out the letters, and your show has done great coverage showing how it was rejected. We mobilized the fastest cold start in Washington, D.C. since World War II, and the largest occupation of D.C. by the National Guard since the American Revolution. That's what happened on January 6th. But what you and your viewers want to know, now that we've beat back that disinformation campaign with actual truth, is what was the FBI doing? Well, we got answers coming. We just found a trove of information, and it's on its way to Capitol Hill right now. And they've asked, and they're getting them, and you're getting answers on January 6th. You're getting answers on what sourcing was utilized, what money was utilized, how many assets were utilized, who made those decisions. You're getting it. We can only control the FBI, but you're getting it from the FBI. Were there FBI agents undercover egging people on? Like I said, that answer is coming, and it's on its way to Congress.
You're about to, I saw it. I saw the portfolio of information. We dug far and wide to find it, and I'm pretty sure now we have a conclusive, definitive answer, but you and the public are going to have it. You're going to see it. in writing over to Capitol Hill, but I just want to be sure we're clear, having been an agent and a police officer. There is a difference between an agent, I know you know this, I don't mean to sound ridiculous, an agent, meaning a trained GS 1811 federal agent, and a source or an asset. There's a difference. So when you see the material, which I promise you is coming, again, I'm not asking you to trust us. I know it's coming because I saw it yesterday. When you see it, I just want you to understand that it's not an apology for anything.
Thank you.
But there's a difference between agents and assets. Yeah. And I just hope when...
Now, when he says that, you know what that signals to me? That signals to me we are probably not going to get the answers we want. We're going to get all the answers, but they're not going to be the ones that we want. There is a difference between an asset and an agent. Very obviously. Very obviously. You know, if you're in the mafia and you're ratting out your friends, if you're Whitey Bulger or you're Sammy the Bull Gravano, you are an agent. I'm sorry, you are an asset of the FBI. You are not an agent. And it seems to me there were probably a lot more of the asset type people on the ground during January 6th than there were the agents that many of us are hoping to get answers about or expecting to get answers about. So I just want to warn you guys, I've got a feeling you might not be getting the answers you want when that information comes out. But look, it really comes down to this. Do you trust Dan and do you trust Kash? I do. I do. Maybe some people aren't going to like that response, but just how I feel. That's just how I feel. What are you going to do? What can you do? Guys, we are getting, you know what, we're going to save the funny story, because I promise you, it's funny as hell. We're going to save the funny story for tomorrow, as it is 2 p.m. It's a press conference from a Florida sheriff that I promise you're going to laugh at. We'll do that at the end of tomorrow's show. But, guys, keep it locked in here. Will Johnson should be coming up next. He's ready to go any minute now, guys. Keep it locked in here. Rumble.com/LFATV all day long. Giddy up. Let's go. Guys, I will catch you all back live tomorrow. Until then, everybody, stay loud.